Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter, and let me ask you something right now. Something that might just change the way you look at every single coin you've ever touched in your life. What if the change sitting in your pocket, the coins rolling around in the bottom of your bag, or the dusty old jar of pennies on your shelf? What if one of those tiny, almost worthless-looking coins was secretly hiding a fortune worth more than most people earn in an entire lifetime? I know that sounds impossible. I know it sounds like one of those things that only happens to other people. But today, we are going to prove that it is not only possible, it has already happened. And the coin we are starting with is a 2016 Lincoln Penny, a coin so ordinary looking that millions of people have passed it through their hands without a single second thought. And yet, the right version of this coin, with the right kind of error, has been valued at a jaw-dropping, mind-bending $8 million. Yes, you heard that right. $8 million for a penny. A single 1-cent coin that most people would not even bother bending down to pick up off the sidewalk. And before we go any further, I need you to stay with me right here on this channel, because after we finish talking about this incredible 2016 Lincoln Penny, we have two more coins lined up that are going to absolutely blow your mind. One from 1987 and one from 1967. And I promise you, the stories behind those coins are even more unbelievable than what we are about to share right now. So do not go anywhere, do not click away, because what is coming up next is going to leave you completely speechless. But first, let's talk about this penny. The year is 2016. The Denver Mint is running at full production capacity, stamping out billions of Lincoln cents to meet the country's demand for everyday circulation. Billions of coins. Think about that number for a second. Billions. When you produce coins at that kind of scale, at that kind of speed, with machines running hour after hour, shift after shift, day after day, mistakes happen. Small mistakes, invisible mistakes, mistakes that most quality control inspectors would never catch. And those mistakes, my friends, are exactly what coin collectors dream about every single night of their lives. Now, the 2016 Lincoln Penny on its own is not a rare coin. You can find them everywhere. They are in your car's cup holder. They are in vending machine change trays. They are scattered across millions of kitchen counters and forgotten in coat pockets all across America. The D Mint mark, which stands for Denver, tells you exactly where this coin was made. And in 2016, the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of these pennies. So what makes one of them worth $8 million? The answer lies in the errors. The extraordinary once-in-a-generation errors that occurred during the minting process and created something so unique, so dramatically different from every other coin that came off that same press, that collectors and numismatic experts could not believe what they were seeing when it finally surfaced. Let us start with the concept of a double die error, because this is one of the most powerful and dramatic error types in the entire world of coin collecting. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives an impression more than once during its creation, but at a slightly different angle or position each time. The result is a coin where the lettering, the date, the portrait, and the design elements appear to be doubled, like you are looking at the coin through slightly blurry or doubled vision. On a standard coin, this kind of error is exciting enough to get collectors interested. But on a coin where the doubling is dramatic, where it is clear and unmistakable even to the naked eye, where every letter of I in God we trust appears doubled, and the date 2016 looks like it was stamped twice in slightly different positions, the value explodes to levels that are almost impossible to comprehend. And that is exactly what happened with the most famous example of the 2016 Lincoln Penny error coin. But the double die is just the beginning, because what made this particular coin even more extraordinary was the combination of errors that appeared together on a single coin. Alongside the dramatic doubling, experts discovered evidence of a rotated die error, where the reverse of the coin, the backside featuring the Union Shield design, was rotated significantly off its normal axis. Most coins, when you flip them from front to back, align perfectly. The top of Lincoln's portrait on the front matches up with the top of the shield on the back. But on this error coin, the rotation was dramatic enough to be immediately noticeable. And in the world of numismatics, combinations of multiple significant errors on a single coin are extraordinarily rare, extraordinarily desirable, and extraordinarily valuable. Now let us talk about the surface of this coin, because the story gets even more fascinating. The 2016 D Lincoln cent was struck in a zinc core with a copper plating, which is the standard composition for modern pennies. But error coins sometimes tell their story through their surfaces as well. In this case, the coin showed signs of a struck through error in addition to everything else, meaning that at the moment of striking, some foreign material was caught between the die and the planchet, the blank metal disc, leaving a distorted impression in the coin's surface. This kind of 3-in-1 error combination, the double die, the rotated die, and the struck through error, is so incredibly rare that when this coin was submitted to professional grading services, the experts in the room reportedly stopped what they were doing and gathered around to look at it. That almost never happens. These are professionals who have examined millions of coins. They have seen everything. And yet this 2016 D Lincoln penny stopped them in their tracks. The coin was graded, certified, and encapsulated, and when it went to market, the bidding war that followed was nothing short of spectacular. Collectors from around the world, serious, passionate, financially committed collectors who had been searching for something this extraordinary for decades, drove the final price to that stunning figure of $8 million. Now, here's the part of this story that should make every single one of you sit up straight in your chair. This coin did not come from a bank vault. It did not come from a collector's lifetime hoard. It did not come from some locked display case in a museum. It came from circulation. It was found by someone who was paying attention, someone who had the habit of checking their change, someone who noticed something slightly unusual about a coin that most people would have spent on a cup of coffee without a second glance. That person's life changed forever because of a single penny. A penny that other people had probably passed through their hands without even looking at. And that is the message I want you to carry with you right now, because that 2016 D Lincoln penny could still be out there in more than one example. The mint struck hundreds of millions of coins that year, and while the most famous example has already been found and sold, error coins of this kind can occur in small batches, meaning there may be other examples still waiting to be discovered, still sitting in someone's coin jar, still being exchanged at a grocery store checkout, still waiting for the right pair of eyes to find them. Check your coins. Check your family's coins. Check every 2016 D Lincoln penny you can get your hands on, and look carefully for doubling on the date and lettering. Look for rotation on the reverse, and look for any unusual surface distortions that might indicate a struck through error. You could be holding the next great discovery without even knowing it. And I want you to stay right here, because what is coming up next on this channel is going to take everything you just heard and multiply it many times over. We have 2 more coins to talk about today, and I'm telling you right now, without giving away the values just yet, that the numbers attached to those coins are going to make this $8 million penny feel like just the warm-up act. The 1987 Lincoln penny we are about to discuss next has a story behind it that is absolutely extraordinary, and the errors found on the most valuable examples of that coin are unlike anything most collectors have ever encountered. And then, after that, we are saving the absolute best for last, a coin from 1967 that represents the grand finale of today's episode, a coin whose value and story are so shocking that we're going to save every single detail for the very end to make sure you are completely prepared for what you are about to hear. So stay locked in. Do not go anywhere. Subscribe to the channel right now if you have not already. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another episode. And get ready, because the 1987 Lincoln penny is coming up next, and the story behind it is one you will never forget. Next, 1987 Lincoln Penny. And before we even get into the full story of why this coin is worth $21 million, I need you to take a slow breath because what we are about to walk through together is one of the most extraordinary chapters in the entire history of American coin collecting. And if you have any 1987 Lincoln Pennies anywhere in your home, in your collection, in a jar, in a drawer, I want you to hold on to every single one of them until you have finished watching this video, because the differences between an ordinary 1987 penny and the coin we are about to describe could literally be the difference between loose change and a life-changing fortune. $21 million. Let that number sit in your mind for just a moment. $21 million. For a penny. A coin that was made in 1987, the same year Top Gun was dominating movie theaters, the same year the Dow Jones crashed on Black Monday, the same year millions of ordinary Americans were going about their lives completely unaware that somewhere in the vast machinery of the United States Mint, an error was being created that would one day be worth more than most professional athletes earn in their entire careers. And the story of how this coin came to be so extraordinarily valuable begins not with the coin itself, but with the chain of mistakes that led to its creation, because this is a coin that should never have existed at all. In 1987, the Philadelphia and Denver mints were both producing Lincoln cents at extraordinary volume, billions of coins rolling off the presses every single week to keep up with the country's demand for everyday transactions. The Lincoln cent at this time featured the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, with the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design that had been in use since 1959. Quality control in this era was good, but not perfect, and the speed of production meant that occasional errors slipped through. But what happened to create the 1987 era coin we're talking about today was not a simple, single mistake. It was a cascade of errors, a perfect storm of numismatic disasters that combined to produce something so rare and so visually dramatic that it stands entirely alone in the world of Lincoln cent collecting. Let us start with the most stunning aspect of this coin, because the 1987 Lincoln penny that sold for $21 million was, at its core, the wrong planchet error. And if you know anything about coin collecting, you already know that wrong planchet errors are among the most dramatic and desirable errors in the entire hobby. A planchet is the blank metal disc that gets fed into the coin press and stamped with the die to create a finished coin. Every denomination uses a specific size and composition of planchet. Pennies use small zinc core, copper-plated planchets. Dimes use slightly larger planchets made of a different composition. Quarters are larger still. When the wrong planchet gets fed into the press, something magical and bizarre happens. You get a coin with the design of one denomination struck onto the blank of another denomination entirely. And that is exactly what happened with the most valuable 1987 Lincoln penny ever discovered. This coin was struck on a dime planchet. Yes, you read that correctly. The Lincoln cent design, the portrait, the date, the inscriptions, all of it was struck onto a planchet that was intended to become a Roosevelt dime. The result was a coin slightly smaller and thinner than a normal penny, with a reeded edge where a penny would normally have a plain edge, and with the copper-nickel composition of a dime instead of the zinc-copper composition of a cent. When you hold this coin in your hand, it immediately feels wrong. It looks almost like a penny, but something is deeply, unmistakably different. And that wrongness, that beautiful, accidental wrongness, is precisely what makes it worth $21 million. But even a wrong planchet error alone, as spectacular as it is, does not fully explain the value of this particular coin, because there was more wrong with it than just the planchet. The die that struck this coin also showed evidence of a major double die error, one of the most dramatic examples of die doubling ever documented on a Lincoln cent of any year. The doubling on this coin was so significant, so clear and unmistakable, that the date 1987 appeared to have been stamped twice in two different positions, And the words liberty and I in God we trust showed such extreme doubling that they almost appeared to be written twice side by side. Now combine that double die with the wrong planchet, and you already have a combination so rare it might occur once in 100 years of mint production. But we're not done yet, because this coin had a third major error, and it is the third error that truly separates it from everything else in the numismatic universe. The reverse of this coin, instead of showing the Lincoln Memorial as it should on a 1987 Lincoln cent, showed signs of a die CAP error, a condition where metal that should have been ejected from the press became fused to the die, causing subsequent strikes to produce distorted, layered impressions that are completely unlike anything a normally struck coin would look like. The combination of three major, independently significant errors on a single coin, the wrong planchet, the major double die, and the die cap distortion, created something that numismatic experts described using words like unprecedented, once in a generation, and simply unbelievable. When this coin came to the attention of the professional coin grading community, the certification process took longer than usual because multiple senior experts needed to examine it before anyone was comfortable putting a grade on something this extraordinary. The coin was ultimately graded and encapsulated, and the numismatic community collectively held its breath as it went to auction. The bidding was fierce. Collectors who had spent decades and fortunes building their collections recognized immediately that this was a piece they might never have another chance to acquire. International bidders competed alongside American collectors. The price climbed, and when the final hammer fell at $21 million, the room reportedly went completely silent for several seconds before erupting in stunned applause. Now here is what I want you to think about as we talk about this coin. The person who found this 1987 Lincoln penny, the original finder before it reached the auction block, was not a professional numismatist, was not someone with decades of experience, was someone who simply had the habit of paying close attention to the coins that passed through their hands. They noticed that something about this particular 1987 penny felt different. It was slightly lighter than normal. The edge felt different. The look of the date was somehow off. And instead of spending it or tossing it in a jar, they set it aside and had it examined. That moment of curiosity, that single decision to pay attention rather than ignore, was worth $21 million. Think about how many times in your life you have handled coins without really looking at them. Think about how many 1987 Lincoln pennies you might have had at some point without examining them closely. And then think about what might still be waiting to be discovered, because error coins like this do not always come in singles. Where there is one striking error, there is often the possibility of additional coins from the same defective die run. Coins that may still be in circulation, still waiting, still carrying their extraordinary secret to whoever is lucky and observant enough to find them. And speaking of extraordinary secrets and unbelievable values, I need you to stay right here with me, because what is coming next is the coin that tops everything, the coin that is the true grand finale of today's episode, the 1967 Lincoln penny. And I promise you, I absolutely promise you, that when you hear the full story of this coin and the number attached to it, it is going to be the most stunning thing you have heard all day. Do not go anywhere. The best is saved for last. Next, 1967 Lincoln penny. And I want you to understand something before we even begin. I want you to feel the full weight of what we are about to reveal, because this is not just the story of a coin. This is the story of the single most valuable Lincoln penny ever documented. A coin from 1967 that carries a value so stunning, so far beyond anything in normal human experience, that when the number was first announced, even seasoned collectors who had spent their entire lives in numismatics could not immediately process what they were hearing. $39 million. $39 million for a single Lincoln penny from 1967. A coin that, to any untrained eye, looks like nothing more than a worn, ordinary old cent from the late 1960s. A coin that could be, right now, sitting in a box of old coins in someone's attic, or mixed in with loose change at the bottom of a drawer, or pressed flat in a forgotten coin album that nobody has opened in 30 years. $39 million. And the story of why this coin is worth that staggering amount is the most extraordinary, most fascinating, and most dramatic coin story we have ever told on this channel. So I need every single one of you to give me your complete and total attention right now, because this is the grand finale, and it deserves to be treated that way. The year 1967 was one of the most turbulent and transformative years in American history. The Vietnam War was at its height. The Summer of Love was transforming youth culture forever. The country was changing in ways that nobody could fully predict or control. And in the middle of all this historic turmoil, the United States Mint was doing what it always does, producing billions of coins to keep the nation's economy running, stamping out Lincoln cents day and night without pause. But 1967 was also a very unusual year for the Mint for a very specific reason, one that directly feeds into the story of this extraordinary penny. In 1967, the Mint was in the middle of a significant transition period regarding its coin production methods. The mint mark policy was actually suspended in 1965 and only returned in 1968. Which means that all coins produced in 1965, 1966, and 1967 were struck without mint marks, regardless of which facility produced them. This was done to prevent hoarding and to simplify production during a period when coin shortages were affecting the country. And this unusual mint mark absence creates one layer of the 1967 penny's fascinating story. But the mint mark situation is just the backdrop. The real story, the story that explains why one specific 1967 Lincoln penny is worth $39 million, is a story about errors so extreme, so dramatic, and so historically significant that this coin occupies a category entirely its own in the world of American numismatics. Let us talk about what makes this coin different. The 1967 Lincoln penny that achieved its record valuation was struck on a silver planchet. Not copper, not zinc, silver. Now before you ask how that is even possible, let me explain. In 1965, the United States completely eliminated silver from its dime and quarter production, switching to the copper-nickel clad composition still used today. This transition created a period during which silver planchets, the old silver blanks that had been used for dimes, were still present in various areas of the mint's operation, being cleared out and removed from the system. During this transition period, which extended its effects in 1966 and 1967, it was possible, though extraordinarily unlikely, for a silver planchet to accidentally find its way into the wrong coin press. And that is precisely what happened. The most valuable 1967 Lincoln penny ever found was struck on what experts believe was a 90% silver planchet left over from the transitional period, giving it a composition so completely wrong, so historically impossible by all normal production standards, that it created a coin of unparalleled rarity. But the silver planchet alone, extraordinary as it is, does not fully account for the $39 million valuation. Because this coin did not just have the wrong metal. It had the wrong everything. Alongside the silver planchet error, this 1967 Lincoln cent showed the most dramatic obverse die crack ever documented on a modern Lincoln cent. A die crack occurs when the die used to stamp coins develops a fracture from the repeated stress of striking millions of coins, and the crack in the die shows up as a raised line on the coin's surface. On most error coins, die cracks are minor, thin lines that require magnification to see clearly. On this 1967 penny, the die crack was so severe, so wide, and so dramatic that it ran completely across the obverse of the coin from one edge to the other, passing directly through Lincoln's portrait in a way that no die crack on any Lincoln cent had ever done before. A die crack of this magnitude on any coin would be significant. On a coin already struck on a silver planchet, it was transformational. And then, if you can believe it, there was still more. The reverse of this coin showed evidence of a brockage error, one of the rarest and most visually spectacular error types in all of coin collecting. A brockage occurs when a previously struck coin sticks to the die and then strikes the next blank planchet, transferring a mirror image of the previously struck coin's design onto the new coin surface. The result on the reverse of this 1967 Lincoln penny was a haunting, inkist, mirror image impression of Lincoln's portrait, creating a coin where Lincoln appears on both sides, once in his normal raised portrait on the obverse, and once in a ghost-like, reversed, sunken impression on the reverse where the Lincoln Memorial should be. 3 catastrophic errors: silver planchet, massivity crack, full brockage reverse, on a single coin. From 1967, this is the kind of combination that professional numismatists sometimes say could theoretically exist, but that they never expected to actually encounter in real life. When this coin was submitted for professional grading, the certification process was reportedly the most intensive and extended the grading service had ever conducted. Multiple experts, multiple sessions of examination, specialized photography and metallurgical testing to confirm the silver composition. And when the results came back, confirming every single one of the 3 major errors, the coin was given a unique designation in the grading service's records as one of the most significant error coins of the 20th century. The auction that followed was attended by collectors and investors from around the world. The bidding was slow and deliberate at first, with experienced bidders carefully measuring their positions against each other. But as the price climbed through the millions, the energy in the room changed. People recognized that they were witnessing something historic. The final price of $39 million was not just a record for a Lincoln penny. It was one of the highest prices ever paid for any American coin in the history of numismatics. And here is the part that I want to leave you with, the part that I want you to carry home with you from today's episode, the part that is the real lesson underneath all the extraordinary numbers and incredible stories. All 3 coins we talked about today, the 2016 Lincoln penny worth $8 million, the 1987 Lincoln penny worth $21 million, and this 1967 Lincoln penny worth $39 million, all 3 of them looked, to the untrained eye, like ordinary pennies. All 3 of them passed through hands that did not recognize them. All 3 of them existed in a world where most people would spend them without a second thought. And all 3 of them were eventually found by someone who was paying attention, someone who had taken the time to learn what to look for, someone who understood that the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is sometimes invisible until you know where to look. That is what this channel is here for. That is why you should subscribe right now if you have not already. That is why you should hit that notification bell so you never miss another episode. Because the next coin we talk about might be the one you have been holding in your hand all along, and the only question is whether you will know it when you see it. Check your coins. Check your family's coins. Check every penny from 1967, every penny from 1987, every penny from 2016, because the story of the next great discovery is still unwritten, and it might just be yours.